Thank you all for being here. I'm Bernie Lynch, the city manager of Lowell, and Jim has given me the honor of being the master of ceremonies of sort here today to welcome you all to this event. Thank you for being here as we kick off next week the expanded hours for the LRTA. And I think all of you who know what the LRTA does, either as a community that's served by the LRTA or an outside person who recognizes the importance of public transportation in an urban and suburban area of getting people around. Well, those of you, as I look out, who work for the LRTA, recognize the great job that the authority does in providing that important service of providing transportation to people who either A, don't have another way of getting from point A to point B, or recognize the environmental value of utilizing public transportation as opposed to using their own car and clogging up the roads and causing traffic and all of that that goes with it. Of course, the public transportation system, if it's going to be successful, has to do a number of things. It has to provide dependable service, and I think the LRTA clearly does that. They have to provide clean buses and clean means of getting around, and I think the LRTA does that. But they also have to provide a service that people can utilize in their own harried lives. If they're going to use the public transportation to get to work, they have to have transportation that's there in the morning and there in the afternoon or evening to be able to make it work for them. If they want to use public transportation to visit either downtown Lowell or one of the downtowns in the area communities, they need to have it working when they can use it, when they need it. And one of the drawbacks of public transportation everywhere, and particularly for us here at in this region with the LRTA, is that up until recently, public transportation hasn't been as readily available and accessible as we would like it for the customers that we serve, for the people that we represent and serve. So last year, and you'll hear more about this, and people will probably repeat some of this, but last year, with the leadership of Jim Scanlon and the other LRTA staff, we began Saturday service and expanding the Saturday service so that more people could utilize public transportation on the weekends. But a real goal of ours, and it really wasn't possible up until now, and what we're doing next week, is to expand the LRTA service into the evening. And you'll hear me say something about this again as I introduce a couple of the other speakers. But you know, when I've been around the city of Lowell, and obviously I had my time over in a neighboring community, I hear from the youth of our region that they need public transportation to get to jobs. I hear from businesses that they need a way for their employees to get back and forth. They want to hire people and they want to reach out. They need to have a means of getting people to work. And I hear from the businesses too that they need a way to get their customers in. And clearly I hear from the residents of all these communities that they need a way to get around. The LRTA, again with the leadership of Jim Scanlon and the board of directors and the staff, the employees that make up the LRTA, have now embarked on this new effort to expand into the evening to make public transportation more available and more accessible. And I want to thank Jim for making that possible and his people. I just think it's an amazing accomplishment that we're able to do that, and there's so many people to thank. But at this time, I'd like to turn it over to the mayor of the city of Lowell, Patrick Murphy, who in his time as a city councilor and as mayor has been a primary advocate for public transportation here in our region, and particularly here in our city. He has held my feet to the fire, certainly as city manager, to get the LRTA service expanded, to make it more available. He's held my feet to the fire that let's get some bus stops out there so people know where the buses are and can utilize the buses. And again, with the help of Jim Scanlon, we've been able to make that happen. So I can't think of a better person to welcome you to the city of Lowell and to speak on this issue than our mayor, Patrick Murphy.
Thank you very much. I'm very happy to be here, and I'm of course speaking for myself in that regard. But He's not speaking to the press at this time. So I am very happy to be here and to be joined here with my colleague on the City Council, Councilor Rita Mercier. I've been thinking a lot about my grandfather lately, who was also a city councilor over 60 years ago. And he actually served 2 terms as well. I've been wondering how he lasted so long. But among many things, he was a bus driver in his early days and worked for the Eastern Bus Company, which was the main provider of bus service here in Lowell and the region during that time. And whatever happened during his time with the bus service, he wasn't particularly happy with the management, because when he became a city councilor, he began arguing for all kinds of measures to be taken by the bus company. He argued for more bus stops, for bus shelters throughout the city. He was arguing for against the curtailment of bus service on the weekends, Sundays, Saturdays, and weeknights. And so I'm happy to have followed in that sort of line, and I'm even more happy to have the LRTA as a partner here with the city. Obviously a much easier partner to work with than the Eastern Bus Service, which never met any of his requests. But to have a LRTA, a regional transportation agency that has been so responsive, that has sought to make our transportation service here in the region more available to all of our residents, whether they're old, young, and of whatever means, to create all kinds of bus shelters throughout the city, to work on the Saturday service and weeknight service. It recognizes not only the importance of mobility for our residents throughout the city, but also the importance of transportation to sustainable development of our city for years to come. And so I thank certainly Mr. Scanlon and his leadership with the LRTA. I thank Mr. Lynch for his advocacy on the LRTA board. I thank NIMCOG and all the partners that play a role in really making sure that this kind of thing happens. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I don't know if this will embarrass the mayor for me to say this, but his grandfather also, when he became a city councilor, ran on the platform of removing the city manager because he was a Republican and he was from Chelmsford. So I'm still living in Chelmsford. I'm trying to sell my house, so if anybody wants to buy my house, I'd be happy to sit down and talk to you. I'm not a Republican, so I think that has served me well so far from the mayor's trying to follow in his grandfather's footsteps. So I appreciate that, Mr. Mayor. So. Next, we've said we've had certainly some accolades for Mr. Scanlon, for Jim Scanlon, and this could not be done without Jim's leadership, his willingness to come up with creative ways to put these things together. And really, I can tell you, the board of directors of the advisory board meets on a monthly basis with Jim and his staff, and Jim is always responsive to the requests that we make and always looking for ways to serve the communities that the LRTA serves. And so none of this could have happened without his willingness to do that, his leadership. So it gives me a great deal of pleasure at this time to introduce Jim.
Well, good afternoon, and I think we set this up as a news event, but really I look at it as being a celebration, long overdue. I think the people of the greater Lowell area have been shortchanged for a long time. The people who need our services, who the manager said earlier, who don't have a car, who are old and they can't drive, or for whatever disabled reason they can't drive a car, they need the LRTA. And what's been happening all along is that we've been really just treading water. We've been keeping service going the way it's been going in the past because we really haven't had the resources to do anything better. As you all know, when the T had a financial problem a year ago, that gave the legislators like Senator Donahue and Representative Nango and Representative Murphy Golden and the whole delegation, they recognized that, hey, we can't put all the money in at the MBTA. We have to put some money in where our region hasn't gotten any service. So thanks to their leadership, we were able to put on the Saturday service in January. And I said to my friend Dave Nangle earlier, I've been saying to people, we had a 25% increase on Saturdays because we added service every hour. It used to be if you wanted to go to Tewksbury on a Saturday, you have to wait an hour and a half for a bus, and if you wanted to go to Burlington Leahy, you waited 2 hours. Now you get it every hour. We had an increase of, I tell the board, of 25% increase. Just last weekend, it wasn't the folk festival, we had a 45% increase in our ridership on Saturday. We had over 2,000 people use our service on Saturday, whereas a year before we had a little over 1,300. So it tells you that if you put the service on the street, people are going to use it. The other point I want to make is this isn't the final piece that the advisory board, with a great board that I have, Bernie Lynch, and a couple of people are here today, George Dixon from Chelmsford and Barry Fuller from Pepperell, and Mike Gilberto is here representing the town, and we have a great person on our board from Tingsboro and Kevin O'Connor. Really, the board has charged me to try to do things so that we really serve the public. And if you look at what we're going to do next week, as the manager mentioned, what we're doing next week is we're having over 53 more trips a day coming out of here at night. That's going to make a big difference in the people who use our system. We're going to have over 5,000 hours for a year that people are going to have the opportunity to get around. Right now, it used to be, and I said this in the paper the other day, that after when it became sunset around here, our buses would come off the road. Well, that wasn't anybody's fault. We just didn't have the money. And now, thanks to the state and the leadership of Governor Patrick and Secretary Davey and General Manager Scott, who have been fabulous advocates for the regional transit authorities. And Tom Schiavone is here representing them today, and he'll speak about their efforts. But without that support and the federal and the local delegation, we wouldn't be here today. I also have to thank my whole team. I mean, it doesn't happen because I say, we got $500,000 more money this year. What are we going to do with it? There's a lot of hard work that goes into it. People sit down. We try to figure how do we make that, use that money the best way we can. And we all worked hard. And I can go from my whole team, from Kevin McGuire to Jimmy Good to Jeff Jones to the whole staff. And I know I'm Chris Curry and whatever. They all did the work. I just was cheerleading them along the way. So they did a great job. And finally, I just want to say, a couple things. I can't do it without my board. They're the ones that support me and say, okay, Jim, you're heading in the right direction, or I think you should do this. And they've been terrific to me. So without their support, this or other things wouldn't happen. And I guess finally, as I alluded to earlier, this isn't the final piece of the puzzle. We can do better. And thanks to the funding of the Transportation Finance bill that Representative Nangle, Golden, and Murphy, and our good friend Senator Donahue did, we're going to add more service going forward. Okay, this isn't the end. I said to someone earlier, I think it was Senator Donahue, I happened to be up in the Lowell area the other day, and I stopped at Market Basket on 38. And it was about 10 or 11 in the morning, and I kind of looked around the parking lot, and the parking lot was about 3/4 full. And I said to myself, boy, am I lucky that I can go in and shop here on a Sunday. And then I looked around, and obviously it was Sunday and there were no buses. And I said, that doesn't seem fair to me. So as we go forward, this is only the second of many pieces of a puzzle that, through the help of our delegation and our federal partners, that we're going to continue to do so. With that, thank you so much.
Thank you, Chairman. As Jim indicated, we get a tremendous amount of support from the state, and we're going to be hearing from a couple of the members of our State House delegation in a moment. But we also we've gotten quite a bit of support from the Patrick administration, in putting this together, and putting all of our efforts together in public transportation. And we're very fortunate to have Thomas Schiavone here today. He's the manager of transit programs for the Massachusetts Department of Transportation. And these are the people that are there by our side every step of the way.
Well, I certainly had about a 25 to 30-minute speech all prepared to wax philosophical about transportation financing and expanded weekend service. I knew if I did that, I'd certainly be the lead story in the paper, and the mayor just blew that with bringing his kid up here. I mean, I know what picture's going to be in the paper now. So that being said, I am thrilled to be here representing Secretary Richard Davey, General Manager Beverly Scott, and the entire Massachusetts Department of Transportation team. just wanted to take an opportunity to congratulate, but more importantly, thank Jim Scanlon and the entire LRTA staff for seeing and having the foresight to expand this much-needed service at night. Just in January, he had the foresight to expand weekend service. That was the crux of the governor and the secretary's transportation way forward initiative that was submitted to the legislature for consideration. Jimmy saw that, recognized it, and jumped on it very quickly and was able to do that here in Lowell. I certainly envision, and thanks to Jim's leadership, the other 14 RTAs will follow suit very quickly with the funding that was provided by the legislature. And I want to thank personally Senator Donahue, Representative Nangle, Representative Murphy and Golden for their support and effort on behalf of transportation funding in ensuring that regional transit authorities received additional funding that they have over recent years. With that additional funding, we're seeing service that Mr. Scanlon was able to put on. So I can't thank the legislature and their efforts. And enough good things can't be said. I know Manager Lynch said some wonderful things about Mr. Scanlon and the work that he does. We in Boston at Mass DOT have a wonderful working relationship with Jim, with the Lowell Regional Transit Authority. It's not just this expansion, but it's other projects that Jim's working on. And his leadership is really a testament to who he is and how he represents everyone here in the greater Lowell area. So just want to take that opportunity to thank you and pass the blessings along of the Secretary, the General Manager, and the Governor. Thank you.
Just a couple of other people I want to mention that are here that recognize. We also have Tim Goddard, another member of the advisory board, sitting in the back representing the town of Carlisle. And from the federal side, we have Gene Adams and Kristen Woods from Congresswoman Songus' office. So thank you for being here as well, your support. You know, when I became city manager 7 years ago now, one of the groups that I was urged to sit down with, and there were dozens, because one thing about the city of Lowell is that we very much geared towards the concept of partnership and partnering with certainly our state representatives in the House and Senate, the state administration, the large institutions that we have here in the city like the hospital and the university and the community college. And we're very fortunate to have a number of nonprofit organizations that really run the gamut on the populations that they serve, the groups that they work with. And one of the groups that I was told you have to sit down with right away, they're an exciting group, still relatively new at that point, was UTEC, the Urban Teen Equality Center. They do amazing work with the youth of our community. And I met with them when they actually were still at their site on Merrimack Street. And I was impressed with the staff and the leadership that they showed me in terms of working with the youth. But I guess I can say that I was more impressed with the youth that I met with. I think I met with about 15 young people that day, talking about what they saw as the strengths and weaknesses of the city of Lowell. And they had a number of things that they wanted to say about how great it was to be in the city of Lowell. But they also had some concerns. They had some issues. And as the father at that point of two teenagers, I was expecting the stuff I usually get at home of complaints about different things. But what really, impressed me was the level of maturity and responsibility that they showed in what they were looking for to improve their lives and the life of their community. And what always struck me was their interest in getting jobs, building lives, and becoming contributing members of the city of Lowell. And so we spent a lot of time talking about how they could break into the job market, how we could create jobs here in the city of Lowell. And one of the issues that they raised to me was, we need a way to get around the city. We need a way to get to jobs that are down, at Cross Point. Or we need a way to get to jobs in other communities and back and forth. And the bus service simply doesn't meet our needs at this point in time. And it was that message that I received from the members of UTEC and the support and direction that I received from the City Council. As I indicated, Mayor Murphy certainly made clear to me that what he saw as a need out there, that made it possible for me to go to the advisory board and meet with Mr. Scanlon, Jim Scanlon, and say, what can we do about this? What can we do to address this problem? So I can't stress enough the importance of this service for the youth of our community. And we're very fortunate to have the Executive Director of UTEC here to say a few words today, Greg Croto.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Greg. I want to thank the manager as well, who's been not only on this issue, but on a variety of issues for young people in our city, a huge support for us. And I'm here today joined by Debbie on, so whenever I speak, I try to make sure to share the microphone, or Debbie will push me off the stage. I also want to thank Jim for offering the opportunity for us to come and say some words on how it impacts young people here in the city of Lowell. But through Jim's leadership, through the leadership of the LRTA, this is big stuff. And obviously, through the federal support, Congresswoman Tsongas, Representative Nangle, Senator Donahue is here. There are so many issues that affect young people. This is one, and by us being able to extend the hours really is a key step for us moving forward. Folks may have heard we have different campaigns, and the campaign that's received a lot of attention is our campaign to lower the voting age. And actually this year we'll celebrate our 10th anniversary of City Council candidate forums. And our first one was in 2003. And although we're continuing to push that issue forward, the very first issue came back in 2003 in our first City Council candidate forum. And our young people did a variety of surveys, and they said, what can we do to best improve the situation for young people in the city of Lowell? And from 2003 onward, transportation was either the #1 or #2 issue. And so it's so incredibly, I think, satisfying. We were talking to young people that were there in 2003 and talking about this. To be able to see the movement on this. And so, we serve young people. We say we serve young people that are have a variety of challenges. They might be court involved, they might be gang involved. Our mission at the very highest level is to try to level the playing field. And unfortunately, a lot of the young people walk through our doors, they have a lot of different obstacles that makes that level playing field a bit of a challenge. And I think being able to have these extended hours that will increase safety, amongst our young people, that will increase access to really solid, good jobs is a huge step forward for us in the city. So we couldn't be happier to be here. We really appreciate all the leadership at the LRTA, and we look forward to moving forward. So I'm going to pass it on to Debbie, who's one of our all-star organizers, talk a little bit briefly about how this impacts young people as well.
Hi, my name is Debbie An, and I'm a youth organizer from UTEC. And in 2005, we did have a candidates forum, and one of the biggest issues was transportation. I mean, young adults need to go to work in the evenings, and they just can't get home. And the two big points were, how are we supposed to go to work and get out and go home? So we are just really thankful for the LRTA for extending the hours, because now that gives us more opportunities to work later evenings. That just helps us fulfill our goals, and it just gives us more opportunities for better work ethics, and it's just all in all, in the end of the day, it is really helpful. And we're just really excited. I know for a fact that it's going to help a lot of young adults, including myself, because I do work evening nights. So I'm very excited, and we would just like to invite everyone to go to the candidates forum in this fall, so we could continue, so the City of Lowell could continue to help United Teen Equality Center to help young adults fulfill their needs. And we just are very thankful. And as we're doing the candidates forum, we are still going to continue to work on the Vote 17 campaign, and we're just really excited. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I mentioned earlier that we talking to the youth, and certainly, as the mayor said, it reaches across all age groups. Certainly, we have riders on the LRTA from the very young to those that are much older that take advantage of this service. But I did mention in my earlier remarks about the importance of this service for the business people of the community and the region, and in terms of getting their employees to work or getting their customers to their locations. And we're very fortunate right now to have a very dynamic Greater Lowell Chamber of Commerce. It really has been rejuvenated, I think, over the last couple of years, and in large part that's a result of the Executive Director, Danielle McFadden. So Danielle, if you could just come up and say a few words for us.
Thank you so much for having me here. Congratulations to Jim and the LRTA for making the public transportation readily accessible and convenient. This is such a great opportunity for Greater Lowell residents, businesses, and those commuting from other areas to come into the Greater Lowell area. This contributes greatly to establishing the Greater Lowell region as a desired place to live, work, and of course, to spend time and money, which is what we all want to see. The LRTA has made a conscious effort not only to expand the Lowell bus route, but also routes throughout Greater Lowell, including Billerica, Chelmsford, Dracut, Tewksbury, Tingsboro, and Westford. As a Chamber of Commerce, we believe that this expansion, along with the additional downtown shuttle services, will help the business community truly thrive. This will increase opportunities to commute from Lowell to Boston, make that easier, to access for Middlesex Community College students, UMass Lowell students, and faculties to participate in nighttime activities and courses, and for people to attend the many events, shows, concerts, sports, all the great things that make this such a great place to be a part of. So we really value our partnership and friendship with the LRTA. We think this is really great. And those of you who know me know I'm big into social media, so I had to share a Facebook post I saw the other day. One of my Facebook friends commented he does hiring for a local organization, and a woman from Boston just accepted a job because she can now come to Lowell and use public transportation because she works into the night. So great job. Thank you very much.
So we've talked about all the people this is going to benefit, and we've talked about the work that's been done here at the LRTA, and clearly none of this could have taken place without the perhaps the most important element, the money. And that's where we have our next two speakers that we're very fortunate to have such a great State House delegation. Not only on this, but on so many projects. They're there working with us hand in hand to make things happen for the city of Lowell and really for the region. And so I can't say enough about all four members, Representatives Golden and Murphy, who aren't able to join us today, but Representative Nangle, Senator Donahue, for the work that they do on behalf of city government, the town governments, and most importantly, the residents of all of those communities. So it gives me a great deal of pleasure at this time to introduce Senator Donahue to say a few words. And so, Senator Donahue.
Good afternoon. It is great to be here. You know, it wasn't that long ago, as Jim just mentioned, when we had hearings down at City Hall over the MBTA's proposal to cut the MBTA services, and I know Representative Nangle and myself, as well as Representatives Golden and Murphy, heard loud and clear from our constituents that that would be a huge mistake. Not just a mistake, but a life-altering decision that some people just could not go on from. You know, whether it had to do with getting to their doctor's appointments, getting to jobs, getting to shop. There are so many people who are dependent on this service. And so we got the message. I think we knew that, but we heard from people, not only in the hearings, but that contacted us. And that's why it's great to be here, not to talk about a cut in services at the LRTA, but an expansion. And I want to thank Jim and the entire board for taking quick action on this. You know, I know you heard from the ridership and those people who need this. And these things do require money. But, you know, when you're elected by the folks who send you down to Beacon Hill to make a decision, sometimes they're not always easy. And I know Representative Nangle's been there a long time making those decisions too. And sometimes you have to just, you know, bite the bullet and make a decision, and it's going to raise more money. Why? Because without the additional dollars, we wouldn't be having any of this here today. So I think this is not just great for Lowell and the greater Lowell community, but it really is a tribute to the leadership here at the LRTA. We're very fortunate to have you here. And we've heard from so many people of how it's going to impact going forward. I'm delighted that the transportation finance that we all supported is not only going to bring these changes, but more changes as this next year or so goes on. And it's very clear, mass transit doesn't work unless you have sufficient transit to make it work. There's a tipping point, and I think having faced the potential of cuts and gone through that, and now being on the other side, this is a great day. And Jim, you know, you've always had great leadership here. I'm reminded we're talking about history and grandparents. Well, my mother's name was Scanlon, so maybe we are related or something, but you've done a great job here at the LRTA. Thank you for having me, and we look forward to working together.
Senator Donnie made a great point there about that tipping point, that if the service isn't there all the time, fewer people use it because they need that flexibility. So it is that investment, that upfront, that taking the risk of expanding the services. Yes, it's going to cost more money, but it's going to get more riders, and it's going to get more and more riders as it goes along. So it's great to have that recognized at the state level by our state delegation. The other thing that I think is important about our State House delegation is that they, as I said earlier, they fight for the city of Lowell, they fight for the other towns around here because we're very fortunate here in Massachusetts to have a great capital city of Boston. We all love Boston. Very, very proud to say we're part of the Boston community. But let's face it, the reality is that we all live and work around here. And it's important that our State House delegation be there to fight for making sure that some of the resources come out to the cities and towns. And so we are fortunate that our delegation understands that and does that for us. And I think that's a great lead into Representative Dave Nangle, who is always out there looking to do what's best for the city of Lowell and for the town of Chelmsford, which he represents, but more importantly for all the cities and towns throughout the Commonwealth. Dave Nangle.
Bernie, I have to say, not to bring it up, but you mentioned it, that you still live in Chelmsford, and he's a great Lowell city manager. So I'm glad to see that now you can stay till 9 o'clock at night. Jimmy, is that the last time the shuttle will go to Chelmsford? But Bernie just said something that I wanted to touch upon, and he's exactly right. When the transportation finance bill came before us, we said, wait a minute, we need something right here for our own communities. And that's why this LRTA expansion program was at the top of our list of what we wanted increased funding for. And I remember having a conversation with Jim Scanlon sometime back in March and asked him exactly what the increase in funding upon a tough vote that we took would do for the LRTA. And he explained it all very, very eloquently, and it was just a no-brainer at that point. I know there was an article in the Lowell Sun recently. I think the gentleman's name was Jim Gleason from the town of Dracut. And think of this, a 36-year-old individual who is legally blind and goes down to Watertown, I assume, on a daily basis to go to the Perkins School of the Blind down there to work. And that individual obviously takes the train into the North Station, somehow then takes the T out to Watertown, and then does the reverse at the end of his workday. And that gentleman would have to be very concerned on a daily basis if he was going to get back to the North Station, make that 5:30 train to get back up here to Lowell to catch the last train to get him home to Dracut. I mean, just think about that. Every one of us sitting here probably has a vehicle that we're going to get in and drive out of here. So when you think of what that does for someone like Jim Gleason, for the elderly, for all the disabled, for the youth, Debbie, as you talked about, I do have an idea on that, maybe, and I know that Councilor Mercier would go along with this in a minute. I think a great idea would be the night that you host that forum, I think you should ask all the council candidates and challenges to go on the bus service here. How would that be, to and from the event? I think that would be a good challenge. What do you think, Rita? Yeah. I think you could do that. But just, Debbie, you were great, and it's so true. You know, you and all of your colleagues that you work down at UTEC and work down there with Greg, that's what it's all about, getting you to, from work, to school, to UTEC, to wherever you have to go. So under Jimmy's leadership, we're fortunate to have Jim here, and under the governor, Tom, as well. I mean, it was a win-win all the way around. It wasn't the most popular thing that we did, but when you stand here today, as Senator Donohue just said, and see this come to fruition, that's what this is all about. So on behalf of Representative Golden, who is up in North Conway with his two lovely daughters at Storyland, or Candyland up there, I can't remember the name, and he's up there this week, and Representative Murphy was on a pre-planned trip with his lovely wife, Ann, who has retired. So on behalf of Tommy and Kevin, they too send their best. Congratulate you, Jimmy, on the expansion of the service, and you, Bernie, as well, for having the foresight to talk to Jimmy about this some years back and expand the service. And the next goal I guess we can look at is trying to do that Sunday service. Maybe we can do that down the road. Congratulations, Jimmy, and thank you very much.
Well, that concludes our program, and I want to thank all of you for being here and being because it really is a great event for the LRTA and for the region. And it is my I think my last responsibility to tell everyone there's food and beverages over here, unless Jim has something else for me to tell you.
If you don't mind, Mr. Manager, I just want to recognize. I mentioned earlier some names here, and I obviously didn't get them all, and obviously I feel bad. But I'm not here to mention them all, but I want to thank you all, and the many people. I do think that I have Tom Cowner here, who is the president of the union, and I got to say that they're the ones out on the street every day, driving the buses, morning, noon, and night. And I'll tell you, most times when the cars are off the road, as the manager knows, our bus drivers are forced to stay out on the road because they have to stay out on the road to get people to work, to get them home into work. Every day they do a great job. So I didn't want to end by just recognizing the management. I think the where the rubber hits the road is all of our employees and really our bus drivers, our mechanics, our dispatchers, our van drivers, our management over at Roadrunner Felicia. So I couldn't end by just letting it go. So you can still have your cookies and water, but thank you.